Be sure and vote June 7th for the senator of your choice.
Many candidates showed up in Monterey to be heard. Do you know who's running for senator of your great state?
Local police department, okay? They defend us. But the only reason they exist is because we hung our Kentucky rifle in the fireplace and hired ourselves a sheriff. Simple as that. We can fire them all tomorrow. My personal opinion, I kind of like them out there, the ones who are doing a good job. So, you go to laws, US Senate, 2016.com, and then go to my history. Please go to that history.
Hello, I'm Don Brendeman. I'm a doctor of chiropractor from San Leandro, and I'm the chairman of the Constitution Party in California. And there are, of course, many different issues of affecting all our citizens. I agree with many things which the previous speakers have spoken about. There are three issues which I try to address in my campaign. And the problem is that we are chronologically in 2016 right now, but we're really in 1984. We're a very socially engineered, tightly controlled society, growing ever increasingly so. And the three issues which I address are social engineering issues. One, we have to ban the transgender mutilation of children. That is a weapon against all children because the Christian foundations of our nation, this is an attempt to destroy those and replace them with their opposite, what I call the humanist foundations. Second of all, we have to expose and finally end the racism of Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood, find their history at blackgenocide.org, prove me wrong, but they're the most racist organization in the history of our nation. When we're talking about racism at this time, they've killed literally millions of blacks, far more than a Klan could ever dream of if they could ever imagine doing such damage to the black community. They're a deadly enemy of the black community and they must be stopped. Third of all, we have climate change / global warming, a total fraud, which started out as global cooling many years ago. The sky is not falling, the seas are not rising, we are not going to boil from heat, and your cat is not going to get more fleas from global warming. It is a complete fraud, but it gives power to the so-called 1%. It will be worth billions of dollars to them in slavery for us. So we have to stop this with real science and stop the fraud that you hear of global warming hammered into our brains day in and day out when it is not happening. We will be fined. This is a total, complete fraud to defraud the citizens and enslave them. So I ask you for your vote, Constitution Party, Don Brenneman, that we stop this slavery of our citizens and come back to real freedom, real science, and actually racial harmony as compared to the Planned Parenthood attack on our nation.
Good afternoon. Thank you everyone for being here, all these candidates. It's really exciting to hear from people we don't normally get to hear from and find out that there are really great candidates that the voters never know about. And they're here today. I'm Gail Lightfoot. I'm running for U.S. Senate. I'm a libertarian. Just like everyone else here, I want to represent the citizens of California. And in the Senate, that's the congressional chamber that focuses on international policies such as treaties, trade agreements, and is charged with ratifying or denying presidential appointments. If elected as a libertarian, I'm committed to implementing our vision, which is clearly stated in our platform, its preamble and statement of principles. Libertarians believe in a government limited to protecting personal rights and liberties, a marketplace free of government restrictions and demands, and a non-interventionist foreign policy. Therefore, I work to end the federal government's involvement in our lives, our businesses, and the affairs of other nations. This includes ending foreign aid, particularly military aid. Without any political, corporate, or ties, I'm pledged to serve for just one term. I will vote to cut taxes, government spending, and burdensome regulations, work for withdrawal of U.S. troops from overseas, and call for an end to U.S. involvement in the affairs of other countries. Protect the Second Amendment, seek an end to the various programs and laws that have allowed the militarization of the police. Call for a complete audit of the Federal Reserve. We can immediately have, if we elect the right people, safer streets by ending the drug war, which is a war on people, particularly poor people, and financial independence by granting tax credits for choosing voluntary retirement accounts, medical insurance, education, tuition, and charitable donations. Please consider voting against the power politicians in Washington. We don't need career politicians. We need you or me or someone else on the stage who represents the citizens of America and the citizens of California to go to Washington and bring reason and logic back to our country. I'm Gail Lyon.
My name is Mark Hurd. I'm one of the reasons you guys are here today. James and I got together to put this together. I'm a former councilman on the Westwood Council in Los Angeles. I'm from Southern Cal. And Gail just laid it down perfectly. I'm a libertarian, she's a libertarian. We are so the same, and she just really laid it out perfectly. I try to simplify it and say libertarians, we're the third largest party and the fastest growing party in the country. We're on the ballot in every state. We're the only other party other than the Democrats and Republicans that are on the ballot in every state in the country. And I like to say we're half Democrat and half Republican because we're like for a woman's right to choose, but we want lower taxes. We're okay with gay marriage, but we want to keep our guns. But the biggest difference is we're against all this war crap. Okay? Bush went in, took out Baghdad and destabilized the Middle East. Obama just wrote a check for $85 billion in 2015 to Afghanistan. Now let me just give you an idea how much $85 billion is. And that was for 1 year. The entire budget of Los Angeles is about $8.5 billion. Okay? And that's your tax dollars. Whoosh! Gone. God, I love Obama, right? Oh, I love Bush, right? So I try to tell people, quit saluting to the same two guys. That's the product they give you. I love a lot of the Democrat Party. I love a lot of the Republican Party. My dad's Republican. My mom's Democrat. And I just say, you know what? I think this is a party. Now my dad's trying to tell me, hey, Mark, Trump's very libertarian. I'm like, well, Dad, a year ago you didn't even know what the word was, so I'm really happy about that. So the message is, guys, there's a lot more out there, like Gail said. There's a lot of great candidates up here today. And share this video. You can go to Facebook /groups/Libertarians Win. I've got the stream there. I'll also put a hard copy of this. Give it to your friends. Show people that there's a hell of a lot more than what the corporatocracy, rip-off racketeering, electioneering garbage that they put out there in Stockton and they put out there in all these lousy BS debates. This is who we want. 2 Democrats and we'll spread out 3 Republicans and hopefully we'll get our 2 Democrats in. Camilla Harris had $5 million, Loretta had $1 million, and then it was zip after that, and that was 5 months ago. So this election is so rigged, and I'm so grateful that you guys came out and are just participating in democracy. I don't care if it's grassroots and small, let the internet do its job, the message will get out there. Someday people say, I wonder who ran in 2016 for Senate. Finally there'll be a tape of it, and you guys will get to be heard. We already know the government's corrupt. We already know who's getting elected. But we still can just protest. And thank you guys from the bottom of my heart.
I've been campaigning for office since 1986 with the platform of legalizing marijuana and growing it everywhere, particularly in our land and water wasting vineyards, and using it to create gasoline, a substitute for nuclear, coal, and hydro energy, an entire house with an incinerator toilet that takes no water and no septic system that we could sell and make billions of dollars off every year around the world. Our government, a couple of years ago, passed a law saying that we could not take plastic sacks out of the grocery store, carry our stuff out in plastic sacks because they're toxic. Everything in the building is toxic. Every breath we take is totally toxic. But if they had decided just to grow enough marijuana in the vineyards and the olive orchards and our almond orchards here in California, and at the end taken all the garbage out to the wineries, we could have created enough plastic sacks and paper sacks and every other plastic product and wood product and made quadrillions of dollars off of it.
Good afternoon, thank you for being here today. Thank you for taking an interest in being informed voters as to the candidates for whom you have to choose for the United States Senate. My name is Karen Roseberry, and I'm an educator from the Antelope Valley. I spent the last 7 years in the classroom, and I think kids are the best return of investment on our time that there is. And I've been very frustrated in what I've seen in the way of federal policy coming out of Washington and the effects that it is having on our society and on our young people. I hold a master's degree in political science, and with that, I've put together a platform that I call Save the Future to address the 4 primary areas most in need. The first is the S, and that stands for security in our foreign policy. Currently, we are making foreign policy decisions where those decisions are not in America's best interest. America is not taking a leadership role, and because of the power void that is resulting, we have instability and insecurity on our globe, and here in our country as well, and even in this state, as terrorist attacks have been as close to San Bernardino. The A stands for accountability in our spending. We have a $19.5 trillion debt that is undermining our currency and our economy for young people before they even get their first job. We need to ensure that the monies that we spend are actually constitutional reasons for spending that money. We can do this by starting with a zero-based budget. We can do this also by reducing the amount of money that we're spending, by reducing the spending by 1 penny for each dollar that has been budgeted, when those monies are in fact constitutional reasons to be spending the money. We need to have laws that are consistent with our Constitution. Values of life, liberty, freedom, and opportunity need to be upheld in the laws coming out of the United States Senate. We need to have educational excellence. Educational excellence comes when parents are involved, when teachers are involved, and when the local school board is involved. Constitutionally speaking, the federal government does not belong in education and should be limited in what they are doing right now. We need to make sure that those decisions come back to the parents for the purposes of good education for our young people. My name is Karen Roseberry, candidate for U.S. Senate, and I appreciate your support. Thank you.
I may be old as dirt, but I got a good 25 years left. It's only a 6-year term. My name is Jerry J. Laws. On the ballot, it's going to be Jerry J. Laws, Republican. I'm a constitutional Republican, okay? And by the way, I don't have a lot of money. I don't have a lot of things, but I have stickers I hand out with the Constitution, I believe, in my website. And I also have cards I hand out. And by the way, I collected most of the cards for the candidates up here. We'll watch them real closely. If they don't carry out the Constitution the way the Founding Fathers did, well, they'll hear from me. So I plan to do. Now look, the Constitution is held up in the state of California. This is 2013, 2014. I didn't notice anything in 2015 or 2016 or 2016, probably not out yet. When you defend the Constitution, Bill of Rights, and you take your oath before God, family, and country, now if you don't believe in God, that's your right in the Constitution. Then you don't have to worry about getting your head chopped off over here, because that's the right you have. If you don't believe, that's your choice. Now, my news release says very simply, I'm a Californian. I love California. My family loved California, and it's been good to all of us for many, many years. Now, my job is very simple. It's defend the Constitution and all rights. What you do with your life is your business, all righty? Now, maintain federal government has a basic function to lay out, to defend the Constitution. 1, protect our borders. 2, protect the Bill of Rights. 3, maintain sound currency. I don't think 27 cents for a dollar is very worth very much. We need to be worth $1 here. And the last thing, of course, is what I just mentioned ago, is the Second Amendment. If you don't have the Second Amendment, you can't protect yourself. Now, I know there's a lot of you. Now, remember this also. We have sheriffs, highway patrol, local police department, okay? They defend us. But the only reason they exist is because we hung our Kentucky rifle in the fireplace and hired ourselves a sheriff. Simple as that. We can fire them all tomorrow. My personal opinion, I kind of like them out there, the ones that are doing a good job. So, you go to laws.us.senate2016.com and then go to my history. Please go to
Hello, I'm Don Brendeman. I'm a doctor chiropractor from San Leandro, and I'm the chairman of the Constitution Party in California. And there are, of course, many different issues of affecting all our citizens. I agree with many things which the previous speakers have spoken about. There are 3 issues which I try to address in my campaign. And the problem is that we are chronologically in 2016 right now, but we're really in 1984. We're a very socially engineered, tightly controlled society, growing ever increasingly so. And the three issues which I address are social engineering issues. One, we have to ban the transgender mutilation of children. That is a weapon against all children because the Christian foundations of our nation, this is an attempt to destroy those and replace them with their opposite, what I call the humanist foundations. Second of all, we have to expose and finally end the racism of Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood, find their history at blackgenocide.org to prove me wrong, but they're the most racist organization in the history of our nation. When we're talking about racism at this time, they killed literally millions of blacks, far more than the Klan could ever dream of if they could ever imagine doing such damage to the black community. They're a deadly enemy of the black community, they must be stopped. Third of all, we have climate change / global warming, a total fraud, which started out as global cooling many years ago. The sky is not falling, the seas are not rising, we're not going to boil from heat, and your cat is not going to get more fleas from global warming. It is a complete fraud, but it gives power to the so-called 1%. It will be worth billions of dollars to them in slavery for us. So we have to stop this with real science and stop the fraud that you hear of global warming hammered into our brains day in and day out when it is not happening. We will be fine. This is a total, complete fraud to defraud the citizens and enslave them. So I ask you for your vote, Constitution Party, Don Brenneman, that we stop this slavery of our citizens and come back to real freedom, real science, and actually racial harmony as compared to the Planned Parenthood attack on our nation.
And find out that there are really great candidates that the voters never know about. And they're here today. I'm Gail Lightfoot. I'm running for U.S. Senate. I'm a libertarian. As just like everyone else here, I want to represent the citizens of California. And in the Senate, that's the congressional chamber that focuses on international policies such as treaties, trade agreements, and is charged with ratifying or denying presidential appointments. If elected as a libertarian,
we have a lot of poverty in this country. We have tent cities. You can drive down the streets and see people in tents and in desperate shape as far as financial condition. Our best solution to this is to have facilities such as the Salvation Army, who actually houses people, gives them food and shelter and a job, and they learn to work, and this helps to rehabilitate people off the streets. What we need is to repeal things like welfare so that these real Salvation Army type rehab facilities can help more people. We need to repeal welfare and repeal the minimum wage so that everyone can have a job.
First of all, let me state that I'm not a big fan of capitalism. It creates a culture of greed, and 70% of our economy is based on consumer spending, which I think is unsustainable in the long run. However, it does seem to be the best we can do, so we got to work with it. So I have this idea of creating a big, massive infrastructure project nationally. We have so many infrastructure problems in the nation. I think this could create many jobs. That's my grand vision for the nation and for California. We need to bring back manufacturing. Service sector jobs need to be unionized to address some of the income inequality. And I like the idea of what Elizabeth talks about with part payment of a job and part stipend.
So 1 minute. College education.
Well, I'm going to say, first of all, I'm not in favor of free college education. I think people need skin in the game. That being said, I do think the education system is failing our kids in the sense we're trying to push them all to college, and that's not the correct approach. Not everybody is college bound. In fact, I will tell you, plumbers and electricians make far more than I do. I think we need to relook at it and look at different career paths where kids graduate with skills that are marketable. Right now, we have college diplomas are about the equivalent of high school diplomas, what they were. And I think we need to look at readdressing the paradigm of our education. And the other thing is we need to make sure that California is providing those education to California students. We're taking far too many out-of-state students and international students because it's a fundraiser for the state. It's a de facto way to charge them triple the amount and therefore fund gaps. But they were paid for by California taxpayers.
First of all, let me go back to my earlier idea about education, that is to create a marketplace that students can choose and learn things that they are passionate about. Now through the same system, they can earn credits, college credits, when they're in high school that can come towards their college education. That way they can defray some of the time and cost that they will spend on colleges. The second thing is that we need to give kids about 2 years of working experience before they go to college. Because we all know that when you're 18, you don't really know that much what you want to do with the rest of your life. Now, I have 2 degrees, and sometimes you look back and say, you know what, maybe I could have done some other choices if I had known myself a little bit better. Now, if we can reduce the amount of degrees that people take and don't actually use, that's actually reducing the demand and reduce the price of education. So we need to encourage more students to take 2 years off, to work at a job, to participate in a non-profit before they go to college. That way they will have more idea about what they want to do with the rest of their life.
Educational excellence is something that we definitely need to deal with. The problem that we're having right now and the increasing costs of education is because we are dumping money into the educational system, meaning that as long as there is a continued ability to charge higher and higher prices, the prices will continue to go further and further up. So as the federal government continues to give loan after loan after loan, those prices go up, students continue to take those loans, and we have the rising debt. We need to set up a competitive standard so that people can get into college, but at differing rates of cost. The junior college system is a very good way to approach that and to address it, and it doesn't require that being free. When we make something free, we have a tendency to cheapen the value of it. Right now, we already have a K-12 system where it was accurately assessed that that high school diploma means a lot less than when it was received 20 years ago. We have students that are receiving diplomas for essentially showing up in class, but not actually getting a quality education. And we have such an influx of students trying to push into the junior colleges that they can't even take those students because they're at remedial levels and not at a college level standard. We need to address the educational quality and excellence issues, and we need to get money out of education so that the cost will come down.
Now, I have a degree as a meat cutter from the union, and a few other things. Everybody doesn't need to go to college. I went to 1 year of college. That was fine for me. But my unions and the stuff I belong to worked out a lot better for my education and for me to make a living. Now, first of all, folks, you Californians, you get rid of the Federal Reserve, that'll help out a lot of the money. You get rid of the doggone government that controls the education department, which was started many years ago, get rid of that. And you let the people use between their 2 ears their God-given rights and talents to make a living. And you certainly don't have your grandchildren or your children take out loans for college, especially from the federal government. You'll never pay it back. Now, what else I got here? Well, I love all these candidates up here. Most of them seem to be constitutionalists. That's a beginning in the right direction. And by the way, our time is up. But I do have John Hancock on one side of the family to the
For educational systems, they should be expanded. They should include the trades. Not everyone is meant to be a scholar. Also, if you want a good school, look at Finland. They have the #1 schools in the world. If you don't know how to do it, copy somebody.
Free, and then you'd ask us how we're going to pay for it, because nothing is free. And a college education is not a guarantee to a good life. Nothing is. People need to work their way through college the way all the college I got, I did because when I graduated from high school, I went to a hospital and was trained as an RN. That was free because the hospital used my labor. It wasn't free. Like I said, they had my labor for 3 years. Then I went on to college. That's what people used to do. But now, if you take out loans, you end up with a piece of paper that really doesn't get you anywhere. And our high schools have stopped giving any kind of skills training at all. People need to know, as George said, what they want to do with their lives. So if they have to work for a while to earn their first year's tuition, they're going to be all the better off. They're going to make wiser decisions. They're going to have a skill they can fall back on while they're in college and maybe even after.
Well, I guess everybody said everything, so I'm done. I don't think education should be free. I really don't. I mean, it's like, hey, everybody's running around, college is going to be free, Bernie's going to be president, and who's going to pay for it? You? You? And what happens when you drop out after 2 years? Hey, thanks for the free education, I'm done. I mean, you got to do the math, the basic math, with a lot of these government ideas. I believe in a low-cost education, but when I was a councilman in Westwood, we had to deal with UCLA. UCLA was paying their deans $500,000, and the deans were taking their pets to vets in limousines, okay? And then the kids graduated with $200,000 in debt. So, I mean, it's really pathetic what's going on right now. But education can't be free. We definitely want it to be reasonable, especially at the junior college level. And I think we should have, you know, I mean, that's where things really need to be dealt with. At the UC Regents, what's her name? She's just doing a horrible job. And there's really not a lot of good oversight. But go to my website, www.voteherd2016.com.
Last year, 14 drones collapsed and had terrible, terrible accidents and disappeared. They were $14 million apiece. They're planning on replacing at least 14 more drones with that. We're giving Israel something like $3 billion to attack Palestine, and they're asking for a couple of billion more. All but 17 of our senators said, yes, let's give them that money. So I suggest we go to them and we say, well, how about fronting about $60 billion to education and start training people to have respect for themselves and their earth?
This political forum was made possible by the all-party system. Lesage Productions in association with the Monterey County Producers Club.